Hey, what's up YouTube? You're watching Ready Set Drone, and today we're going to talk about 360 cameras from Insta360, give you a little comparison of each one, the pros and cons, and which one might be right for you. So stay tuned and we'll check it out. So if you're new to 360 cameras, just real quick, what these things do is they have a lens on both sides and they shoot in a 360 sphere that makes amazing visuals. These lenses on either side pick up the entire area. You could do a two-person interview, talking back and forth and cut back and forth between two people with one camera. You could do drone stuff where you're chasing another drone and use the 360 as a way to reframe the drone as you go. There's so many cool things you can do with this. And then of course there's things like Tiny Planet and other effects built into it that give you these weird perspectives that you wouldn't have otherwise. But if you're thinking about getting one of these, Insta360 currently has these three as their main 360 cameras in their lineup for consumers and professionals to some degree. So we're gonna go through them, give you an idea of what each one does, what each one is best at, and then which one might be best for you based on price and your needs. So let's start with the Insta360 X3, this one right here, which costs $449, which is the lowest price of the three. At $449, what you're getting is a single unit. It doesn't come apart at all. You're getting two 48 megapixel sensors, one for each camera because there's a camera on both sides. You're getting a very large screen actually that allows you to see what's going on in the action. It's a touch screen, so you can move around and manipulate it to select different things like in the menus and different settings using the touch screen. You're getting a sort of hard rubberized case around the outside. You're getting a removable battery, and you're getting, of course, the software that comes with it is free. The software, by the way, use the same software for all three of these to do the post-production. This right here is definitely the one to get if you are new to 360 cameras and you're just looking for a 360 camera, because it isn't really an action camera. Its form factor is a little different. Now this one is also great if you are going to put it onto a selfie stick, because it has a 1/4-20 thread on the bottom, goes right onto the top of the selfie stick, and it looks like a drone flying over you. You can actually do a lot of drone simulated shots with this thing that look really cool. It's very, very easy to use. It isn't quite as advanced as the other, but that's also good in some ways because that makes it a little bit simpler for someone who's a novice. And you can do action camera stuff with it. It does have a big screen, so you gotta be a little bit more careful. None of the parts are replaceable on it, so if you scratch a lens, by the way, you can get lens covers for it, so that helps if you think you might be in a situation where you would scratch a lens, like mounting it to a drone or something like that. But overall, it's a really great place to start for a 360 camera. And again, $449, it's the lowest price of the bunch, and it's very versatile, very high quality with that dual 48 megapixel sensors. You get amazing footage from it. It's not as good in low light as the 1-inch because it's a 1/2-inch sensor in it. But again, for most people who are shooting for fun or doing YouTube videos and shooting in bright sunlight, the X3 is a great choice. And again, it's the lowest cost as well. Next up is the RS Twin Edition. That's this one right here in the middle. Now you notice this one looks a lot more like a GoPro in terms of its styling. It even has a GoPro mount. It doesn't have a 1/4-20 thread. Now I do have an adapter on it so that I could mount it to this little tripod. So if you're mounting to a lot of GoPro type mounts, this one's already set up for that because the case has a built-in GoPro mount. I actually really like the way the case on this pops open. It's got this little button here, and when you hit it, it springs up, and then it's easy to pull out of the case. And then from there, this is modular. This has actually two different lenses that come with it. That's why it's called the Twin Edition. It's got a 4K action camera lens that gives you 4K video and photos, of course, just like an action camera. It's got built-in HDR, so it's gonna give you good quality in different lighting conditions. So if you're ready to change it out for a different lens, you just slide a little lever on the battery comes off, and then these two come apart just by pulling. And then this unit right here is kind of the screen and I suppose the computer part of it. And then you set this down gently, carefully, because you don't want to scratch the lenses. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover on it actually. And then you can put this guy on like so, and then put this battery back on the bottom. And now you have an action camera. So we've gone from a 360 camera to a more traditional action camera. And again, it's got that more traditional action camera size and form factor. One nice thing about this, if you do happen to break or crack a lens, you can just replace that module. You can actually buy the individual modules by themselves, which are a lot less than the whole thing. And that gives you the versatility to be able to just say, okay, I cracked this, I need to replace it. Or if you cracked it and you happen to have your 360 module right there, you can go ahead and just put the 360 module on and go with that. You know, it's entirely up to you. Very versatile in that it changes out with the different modules and allows you to go between a true 4K HDR image in an action camera to a 360 image. And this one right here is probably the best one for drones. And the reason I say that is because of the form factor and the fact that it has native GoPro mounts, which most drones have. It's not as tall. I have flown this guy, the X3, on a FPV quad, and it looked great and actually gave you a very good shot of the quad because it was kind of up higher off the quad. But it really made the quad a little top heavy, number one. And number two, you really didn't want to go through any tight gaps because, you know, you've basically got this thing sticking up off the quad quite a bit, whereas this one doesn't stick up nearly as much if it's mounted to the quad. You're used to this sort of form factor on a quadcopter. This one's a little more protected, and this one has replaceable lenses. You just replace the lens module if you crashed, whereas with this one, if you crashed, you're kind of, you know, you're not going to be in great shape if you scratch or crack one of these lenses. Recommend if you're going to use this on a quad, probably to get the lens protectors. So this one here has a single 48 megapixel sensor in it, as opposed to dual 48 megapixel sensor, but it's a 1/2 inch sensor. So both of these are 1/2 inch sensors, not going to be quite as good in low light as this one here, which is their 1 inch camera. And just for comparison's sake, this one is $100 more than this one. So this one is $449, this one is $549. But with that $549, you get both lenses and you get the ability to change things out and more of a action camera slash 360 camera versatility. The other thing I would say about this one is this probably isn't quite as native to a selfie stick as these two are. These have that 1/4-20 thread on the bottom. They've got that tall form factor that just kind of goes up and really makes that stick disappear. With this one, you would need to adapt it to put it on the selfie stick. You can still do it, but you might not get as clean of an image underneath where that selfie stick disappears as you do with these other two. So again, $449, $549, and then for the 1 inch, the price jumps a bit, $799. So this goes up to almost $800. But what you're getting with this is a 1 inch sensor and a little bit more of a professional setup. So with this one, it's very similar to the X3. It's got that tall form factor and it's got a lot of the same kind of menu features and such. It actually has a smaller screen than the other one, but that screen is also removable, meaning you can actually take this part off. So if you happen to crack the lens on this, this can be replaced and you can still have these other parts. You don't have to buy the whole thing again, which is nice. It gives you a little bit of peace of mind, although I would probably be very nervous flying this on a quadcopter. And then these two parts come out, and just like the RS1, these come apart. But again, modularity, all slides into this little case right here, and then this part goes on the top and just clicks on. And then this has the screen on the back, which, as I said, is smaller than the X3. But what you're really working with on this camera is the 1 inch sensor. This was built in conjunction with Leica. All three of these have flow state stabilization, which allows for in-camera stabilization without a gimbal. And so you can see walking with it, riding a bicycle, riding a motorcycle, snowboarding, flying a quadcopter, whatever, the footage is very, very smooth because you're using that flow state stabilization. And with this 1 inch sensor, the low light capabilities are really amazing. You can shoot in a lot lower light conditions with this camera because of the 1 inch sensor than you can with the other two. Okay, so who are each of these cameras designed for? Well, at $449, this is the least expensive. It's the easiest to use. I would say this is probably for someone who just wants to get into filming with 360 cameras and wants something simple, easy to use, and something that is good quality but doesn't require low light capabilities that they might get from this one. And also isn't really focused on flying it on quadcopters, because I don't think this one would be my first choice to put on a quadcopter. But for $100 more, this one allows you to have the modularity of going between an action camera and a 360 camera. And like I said, it even comes with both lenses, so you're able to swap it out. I just want it to be an action camera today. I'm gonna be shooting this and this. I want it to be a 360 camera. I'm gonna be shooting this and this. If you don't already own an action camera, this is a great choice, because this is going to give you both an action camera and a 360 camera built into one. It also is great for quadcopter pilots. If you're into FPV, this is the one you want to get, because this has a great balance between really, really high-end, good-looking, stabilized 4K footage or 360 footage, as well as being able to mount, replace lenses if you crack them, etc. And then if you're a professional and you're doing things like Matterport, which is a mapping program with LiDAR and 360 rooms, this is actually certified to work with Matterport. I just found that out. It has the 1-inch sensor. It is definitely the king of these three, but it's also the most pricey at $800. And so it's really just a matter of what do you want to do with it. Probably for most people watching this video, I think the X3 might be the way to go. But if you're a hardcore FPV pilot and you want something to document your FPV, and you want something that can be switched out between a 360 camera and a traditional action camera, the One RS is a good option. And then if you're a pro and you're wanting to do things that are a little more professional, you're charging a client, you're mapping rooms for real estate agents using Matterport, or you're doing virtual tours, this is the way to go. Also keep in mind, the X3 is waterproof to 10 meters, the One RS is waterproof to 5 meters, and this one, the 1-inch, is not waterproof. It is water resistant, so you can be around water, splash it, etc. This is really more for using in situations where you're not gonna wanna mess it up by dropping it in the water or scratching the lens or something like that. I'd say if you're more of an outdoor adventurer, you're gonna wanna go with probably the One RS. If you're more of a casual user who wants to just do 360 stuff because it looks cool and you want to be able to use the selfie stick, this is a great choice. And if you're a pro user who really demands the best quality and you're charging a client for what you're doing, I think when you show up with this guy right here with the 1-inch sensor label on the side and the Leica logo on the other side, and flow state stabilization and all the stuff that it says, this just looks pro. This is very industrial looking. I mean, comparatively, you can see it's thicker and it's heavier and it's got a bigger sensor in it, and so it does a better job. I'd love to know what you plan to do with a 360 camera. Comment below and let me know. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time on Ready, Set, Drone.